just record. So this is the second video that we're making, and we're visiting with Crystal Ferguson, and she's a midwife in Missouri, and she's given us some really good pointers with postpartum depression. And I'm not sure where we left off. Crystal, do you remember kind of where we were at?
Yeah, that's fine. We were talking about kind of how midwives offer a different level of care than an obstetrician at the office. So I talked about, kind of prenatal care and birth being different, and then I was on to the postpartum care. So I don't know about for anyone else, but for myself, with doctor visits, I was having it was basically at the hospital I had a visit, and then at 6 weeks you have a visit. So there's kind of a drop of care in the middle. Everyone cares about the baby. They want to make sure the baby's growing, but it's not really much about you. So in midwifery, our postpartum visits are mostly focused on the mom. We do checkups on the baby, but we also recommend that you have a pediatrician or family doctor, or someone checking them out as well. We're looking for normal all along the way. And
excuse me. So I so agree with that, because I've had one baby in the hospital and then 4 at home. But the midwife I had was just so careful about my diet and everything, that she come into my home and she said, tell me what kind of protein. I was showing that I was low on protein.
Mhm.
And she would say, what kind of protein are you eating? She's like, never mind. She started looking through my cupboards, opened my fridge. She wrote me a list, kind of like you would a prescription, and says, I want you to get these items, and I want you to start eating them. And if you can't get your protein looking better, then I won't be able to take care of you. Like, it was pretty urgent that she wanted me to take care of my own health, or she wouldn't be able to assist me.
Right. Yeah.
Oh. And a doctor can't really do that. I mean, you're lucky to get him for a few minutes in his office, and in birth, you're lucky to get him there if you go into labor when he's on call, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so
sitting at the end to catch the baby and make sure everything, they leave.
Yeah. I've talked to other people that have had babies in the hospital, and they say, maybe my doctor mentioned once, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Are you dealing with any depression? And that's it. Like, it's just not something, it seems like with the care that midwives give before and after and during, they know the person well enough to even see that there's some anxiety or depression going on.
Right. And that's, I think that's built on because of the relationship that we build through pregnancy, that we get to know, on a really busy year, we might have 40, maybe 50 clients in a year. And an OB, I mean, they're just so busy. They might have 30, 40, 50 in a month. Maybe even more at a bigger place. And that's just so difficult to actually get to know anybody.
Yeah, it seems like you get to know one nurse and then she goes off shift and it's someone else, and you try to get to know them. It's just really kind of disbobulating almost, how many people come and go out of your room, and it can give you that feeling of just more of an anxiety thing. So many people coming and going and messing with you, messing with the baby. You had mentioned in our previous video, and I thought it was really neat, the difference to midwives versus doctors is not only the friendship, but the midwives can see how the baby's nursing. It's like that follow-up stuff, because postpartum depression doesn't really always happen before you have the baby. Sometimes it can happen before you go into labor, but it's the follow-up stuff that's the important thing. how's the baby nursing, and are you getting sleep? And you had mentioned the delayed cord cutting, and the fact that other children could be in the room if you choose to have other children in the room, and friends or whatever you choose. So there's just so many perks. Although I know that some people have medical conditions where they have to be in the hospital. I get that. And I know that there's many great nurses and doctors in the hospital as well. But it's neat to give women that other opportunity, the other chance, the other option of giving birth. Well, there's probably more than just two options, but there's the unassisted and doctors, there are midwife, or there's also the birthing centers that are kind of, isn't that kind of a mix between doctor and midwife?
Well, some people consider it a nice compromise. I have some friends that own birth centers, and when they take on a new client, they take them on a tour of the whole place, and they show them, look, I don't have a NICU hidden in this closet over here. This is just some extra equipment over here. This is basically your home, but over here. So this is a home birth, but not at your home.
Okay.
This is where the midwives congregate, and we have some extra care here. Um, so the birth center kind of makes it easy for the midwives to be able to serve more than one family at a time and to get
Uh-huh.
support for them. But another bonus to having a birth center birth is you can be closer to a hospital in case you need to transfer. So
True.
that
True.
choose that. There's a couple birth centers in town, and one of them they specifically set up in the location that they did because transferring to the hospital is about 5 minutes. That on purpose. And they serve people that live, an hour away. And now I serve rural communities all the time. But if you have to transfer into the hospital, an hour drive in the car in labor with a problem, I mean, there's a reason that people like to be closer.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Sure.
we do prefer to transfer in while there's still something to work with, but sometimes emergencies happen, so it's
Yeah, sure. Um,
people
and I
like that.
know yeah, what's that,
One,
Crystal?
one of the reasons that people like a birth center birth is that they're just a little bit closer to the hospital without being in the hospital.
Right, right. Yes. I think that's a neat compromise for people that are expecting, that it will be difficult or medical issues, for sure. So, do you refuse clients if you've got your hands full and recommend them to a different midwife or?
Yeah, we do have a caseload that we feel is what we can handle.
Yeah.
Um, we feel like if we took on every single case, then we wouldn't be able to give the kind of care that we want to give. Um, so we kind of carefully consider clients when they interview. There's definitely a nice and easy case of people being, within the mileage range that we like to serve, and that they are generally healthy people. Um, that the family is supportive and all of that. So that's a nice, easy case. And if we've got room, we say absolutely, let's sign up. But sometimes there's a special case that they're outside of one of those factors, and so we bring that to. I work in a practice with 3 midwives, so I bring that to all the midwives, and we say, are we willing to take on this little extra special thing? They might be 10 or 15 miles outside of our usual range. Are we willing to go that a little bit further? Um, they might be at risk for some certain concerns. Are we willing to take on that extra special care? Or are we going to recommend that they go and see someone a little bit closer, um, or recommend that they have a hospital birth? Um, so yeah,
Sure. I always tell people that this Missouri Cedar County where I live is like midwife capital of the world. And now I'm meeting another midwife. Aren't you in Bolivar or
I'm just south of Bolivar. Yeah, our
Bolivar?
is in Springfield.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. My daughter works with the midwives here in this community, and I'll tell you what, I would never have what it takes to be a midwife. You're on call all day and all night. You can't plan family vacations or anything because you may be called at any given time. It could be at your own birthday party. It could be at whatever. You're going to be called, right?
So that is why I'm so glad to be in this practice. The three midwives rotate our call time. We rotate who has the phones at any given time. And we even have scheduled vacation times. This makes things so much more sustainable than when I first started out of constantly on call, um, always making a backup plan for if we went on a family outing, what are we going to do if I get called to birth? Are we leaving all together or am I bringing a separate car? Um, so to not have to constantly be that way is, stress level is super less. Yeah.
That is awesome. Wow, that is really cool. I love that you have three people, you three people can work together on the schedule and then have a life.
Right.
That's awesome. And it is more sustainable. Well, you're going to do it longer if you're not just burnt out.
Right. Right.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Well, I don't know what happened to Elise, but maybe she needed to take care of the baby or something. I don't know for sure. Can you?
Yeah, I'm still here. My baby came in and then she keeps turning
Oh,
on the heater, so it's a little bit loud, so
okay.
I moved it. But yeah, I was just really interested, Crystal, in what kind of things that we were talking about a little bit in the first video of, like, the differences between what the care that you get with the doctor versus what you get with the midwife. And you were talking about, comparing energy levels between all the visits. You visit them very soon afterward. It's not 6 weeks of alone time and not getting any care. And so you kind of compare their energy levels, you said, for when you're looking for postpartum depression.
Right. Knowing what's normal at each stage is really helpful. So if it's pretty common that mom and dad are exhausted after a long labor. So it would be really normal at that one thing for everyone to be kind of tired. But we still ask, so how are you sleeping? Because it's important to know, are you up literally 24 hours nursing the baby? Or does the baby nurse and go to sleep and then you go to sleep? And how can I help you that you can get sleep? Because, your mental health is really, really well controlled by how much sleep that you get. If and not sleeping at all, it can, I'm not sure if it's the cause or a symptom, um but if mama's not sleeping at all, then that is definitely something that we're looking at. If mom is rushing around doing laundry and dishes and making meals, that's a problem. That's not just a symptom, that is a problem. Because we talk about that prenatally. You need to have someone taking care of you for at least 3 days. I want you laying down. You get up to go to the bathroom, you can get up to get a drink, but you need to be laying down most of the time. So who's serving you? Is your husband or partner home? You have mom coming to visit? Is there someone bringing in meals? Who's taking care of you so that you can take care of you? Um, laundry can wait. Dishes can wait. Paper plates work just fine for lots of things, Um, so, but then by 1 or 2 weeks, she should be getting up more. Usually around 1 week postpartum visit, the parents are getting kind of cagey. Can I get out of here yet? Yeah, absolutely. Take a walk around the yard. Go do one errand. Come back. Take care of yourself. See how that's working for you. But if she's still stuck in bed 24 hours a day at 1 or 2 weeks postpartum, that's a symptom. That's something we need to be working on. Asking the questions of, do you feel like you have enough support? And asking those open-ended questions, not just, are you breastfeeding? How's breastfeeding going? Not, do you have support? How do you feel like you have enough support? Tell me about your support. Tell me about your activity levels. Are you mostly resting? Are you getting up more? What have you been spending your days doing? So that can give you clues into what's going on. I don't usually ask the specific question. Has anyone talked to you about postpartum depression or anxiety? I probably ought to use those words more often. But if I see any symptoms, or if she brings up, hey, I'm feeling pretty down, then we have some tools that we use, some self-assessment tools, and some dietary, some supplement, but also some interaction kind of things, building community. One of the most important things that you can do, if you are having some of those postpartum blues or postpartum depression, is reaching out to your community. So at least one time per day, in one way or another, speak to another human being who's, over the age of 5, someone who's an adult, speak to them. So call your mom, call your sister, call your best friend, video chat with somebody. Texting is okay, but it's just not the same kind of social interaction. And having people over is good too, as long as they understand that you're not the host. You're still recovering from having a baby. So if having a person in your home is going to be more stressful, then that's not very helpful. So I love the technology that we have now, that we can video chat and talk without having to leave.
Yeah, Crystal, when you were talking about the different symptoms, I remember getting really edgy with my husband for no reason at all, and with my mom. She was helping me with the birth at home. And I remember getting really edgy. Like mom would, she put some really nice music on, and she was going to take care of everything, make some soup, and tucked me in bed. And she said, "Do you want me to take the baby and take care of the baby and let you just rest?" I'm like, no, keep, I want the baby here. And then she was about to leave. I'm like, "Why do you have that music on?" And she's like, "I'm just kind of, trying to get you to relax." And that, I didn't realize that was the anxiety, the starting of postpartum depression for me, is just really edgy and really, like, just nothing was right. Nothing was good. And just little snippy things. You know what I'm saying? It was just little snippy things that I don't normally snip like that to people that are trying to help me. So had we understood clear back then, when I was having my children, understood that there was a label for that, and there's actually ways to help that, and we could have just got right at it. But yeah, that was my starting indicator. When I think back, when I had my babies, and the worst depressions that I had, was it started with just really snippy at people.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I remember there was one situation when I was talking to my midwife, and she was asking how things were going, and I said, "I'm feeling really prickly." And she said, "Do you mean emotionally or physically?" And I was like, "Literally both. Like, my skin feels prickly and I'm just on edge. And it doesn't take very much for me to just snap at somebody." And that was, I think, even prenatally. So that's an important thing to recognize too, is that postpartum depression doesn't actually always start postpartum. You can start getting those symptoms prenatally. And I think, I want to say the statistics say something like 25% of the time they start prenatally. With my first baby, my husband was working nights, and it didn't occur to me how weird it was, but I was always concerned that he was going to die. Like, he was gone at work, and I kept thinking about how he was going to die, and I was going to be alone, and what was I going to do? And so then I wouldn't sleep because, well, what if my husband dies? Like, that's literally what I would think, and that is not a healthy way to be thinking. That's not
Yeah.
healthy. Let's see. Uh, I mean, yes, it's nice. Yes, it's a concern, but that shouldn't be the thing you think about the entire time he's gone.
Sure,
Not normal.
absolutely. The worries and the things that aren't your normal. And I love that you mentioned reach out to somebody, like just pick up the phone and call somebody, call a friend or a sister or a mom, because they can tell you, honey, you are kind of being touchy. What's going on, right?
Right. You're well, and they know you and they love you. So
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I don't know if you've ever done cold calling, but this isn't cold calling where you just call it.
Yeah.
You're calling
No.
love. So you don't have to call them and say, "Hey, today we're going to talk about." It's just, I don't know. I just needed to talk to somebody. I don't even have a topic I want to talk about. I just want to be on the phone with someone who's
Not a child.
needs me, but we can communicate on an adult level. That the adult interaction really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Um, so like that is number one, and then number two is going outside. Um, especially if you can get some sunshine on you, but just being out of your stagnant airspace, that change of location is important. And I don't mean for hours. 5 minutes outside can be really refreshing and really grounding. So they're
Yes.
really easy to do, but in the midst of anxiety or depression, those can be huge insurmountable tasks. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sunshine especially is great. Even if you're in the winter and you don't have sunshine, it's good to get out in fresh air. It actually can give you a different view of things that you can take back with you in the house and continue taking care of your family. Um, those are, there's just a list of natural things you can do if you catch things soon enough, if it's not at a level 3 of psychosis, postpartum depression. um, so there's so many great tools, and I love that you you're aware, you and your team, you're aware of the different little tiny symptoms before it gets to be a huge problem. We talked about on our Healing Mama Hearts, we talked about making questionnaires that we can give to midwives and doctors that they can give to their moms and different things. But did you mention that you already have a questionnaire, or you have a list of things that they could do that are all natural that they get to pick from?
yeah, we do have things. I don't know that I've actually written it down, so I probably should. But when we're seeing an issue, we discuss that. The self-assessment tool for depression screening tool. It asks questions like, yes,
Guys, I'm not hearing you very good, Crystal. I
I
don't
was
know if
hearing.
it's because I moved around or what. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I had to grab some eggs. The neighbor kids come over to borrow some eggs real quick, but sorry about that. What was the last thing that you mentioned that I didn't hear?
So the screening tool that we use is the Edinburgh Postpartum Depression screening tool, and it
Okay.
asks about 10 questions. Um, things like, I'm able to see the positive side of things, or I cry a lot, or I feel hopeless. Those kind of questions to prompt whether you need further care. But one question that's the most important one is whether you've had any suicidal thoughts.
Right.
Like if that one is a yes, that is a definite. You need extra help. You need extra care. That is a definite. No matter what anything else is going on, that one
Right.
you need
But
I
yeah,
think that
absolutely.
anybody.
I have one that I feel like should be added to that list, because I feel like sometimes it's looked upon as just being a bad mom or just can't handle being a mom. But I think that when we feel so overwhelmed with kids, just doing little things. When the kids do the little things and we can no longer hold our patience, I didn't realize that that was anxiety. I didn't realize my inability to be patient with children's little things that they do that bother, they're so little that a well-functioning person should be able to cope and be patient with that child. But when we have anxiety and frustration, and that's so overwhelming that it makes us feel like, why did I, get so angry with my kid for doing something that, normally wouldn't be a huge deal, especially little ones. You're feeling that way, then that's a sign. And sometimes I feel like, why isn't that question on there? Why isn't that,
That's a really good point. If you're
People-
impatient with things that you normally would be patient with.
yeah, like are your kids doing little things that are just making you so just crazy furious, like
Right.
the time that my doctor finally was like, hey, that's anxiety, is when it was Crystal mentioned before even having the baby. I had little ones at home. I was pregnant. Hormones get mean and nasty going sometimes. And I was telling my doctor, I just get so frustrated when I'm on a time crunch. I'm trying to get out the door and my kids aren't getting their shoes on. I know they can get their shoes on. They're just dallying around. They have no concept of time. I'm trying to get them out the door. And I get so overly frustrated that I almost look at myself and go, you're being ridiculous, And
Yeah.
if you feel like your behavior is ridiculous, then it might be something going on. It's not you. It's not your personality. There can be anxiety or depression going on there.
And it's not
Sure.
Sorry, Crystal, I can't hear you very well.
it's not that you're a bad mom.
Right.
You just yeah. So a while ago, you all shared in the Healing Mama Hearts group a meme of some postpartum depression questions, and the one that I would have loved for someone to ask me was, "Are you having thoughts that scare you?" Because
Yeah.
that
Right.
was the reason I talked to my doctor. We don't have to get into the actual visualization of what I was thinking and seeing, but I kept having these intrusive thoughts that really scared me. That I was going to drop my baby, basically, and it was really vivid and upsetting. And so I would go over the top trying to make sure that I couldn't drop her. Like it was ridiculous, not safe, not okay. Um, um, so I would have wanted someone to ask those kind of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you don't go into the details because you have little ones around you, and it really isn't necessary because we all kind of know people that have.
Yeah.
What's that?
The actual visualization doesn't matter. There was something that's not normal.
Yeah, that's right. That's the question that would be asked is, are you having negative thoughts that are not your normal? Like Elise was saying, she normally can handle the kids doing, loading up to go and getting their shoes and socks and coat and all that on. And then suddenly she can't handle it without wanting to snap. And that is definitely something to look within, or to mention to somebody.
Right. Yeah.
Helpful idea with it.
I feel like that we're going to end the video and then have so many more things to talk about. And I love the information and the knowledge that you have, Crystal, and your experience with moms and babies. I think it's a wonderful thing what you're doing.
Yeah, it's so great. And I love that midwives just create more of a village. Because I think, we've talked about that before, that the village is just lost. The
Yeah.
community, the support has been lost through Western culture. And I admire midwives for bringing the village kind of back to people's homes and,
Yeah.
just that atmosphere that is supportive. because I don't feel like women who birth in the hospital, when they get home, if they don't set up their own support, then that they're left with nothing.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. That is a really good point, that the village, we need to set up our support group somehow. If we don't have it, we need to make it happen.
Yeah. Crystal, were you saying something? I couldn't hear you.
That's why it's nice to have a doula as a backup support. There's definitely a place for a doula even in a home birth setting, but especially in a hospital birth setting, where you can just one more person who's paying more attention to you and can help you make those plans and build up that. Yeah.
Well, Crystal, your family's been very patient with us, and Elise. I appreciate you for sticking with us, even though we had some internet problems. I can see that my internet's back on now, which is wonderful, but I appreciate you willing to visit with us for so long.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you have thought of something after we post the video, feel free to add to it underneath the video. Oh my goodness. You got a couple little cuties there, Crystal.
Yeah,
Hi.
this is.
Hi, sweetie.
Say hi.
A puppy.
Oh, you have a puppy?
No, Pappy is his word for grandma. We cannot get him to say Pop.
Do I look like his grandma?
Well, my kids recognize a grandma when they see one, so.
That's right. I love it. I'm missing my grandkids, so that's sweet seeing his sweet face. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Crystal and Elise.
Hi. Hi,
I
friend.
appreciate it. Bye. Bye.
Thanks for coming.